I got it's a little bit gray, and I'll show you guys once it's all set. I still got a couple of boxes to deal with, random stuff. But I was able to get all the books on the shelf. I got this huge closet, which stores other things that I don't need to look at all the time. Those things that are really important and hard to replace, but you don't use too often, including books that don't fit on the shelf. But anyway, good to see everybody. Welcome to our Success Mastermind for Monday, the 10th of January, Shannon Lavenia's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Hey, so she's, I can't tell you how old she is, how young she is. I can't do that. Okay. But give her some love on Facebook or whenever you see her. She's in her office, which is all the way in the other wing of the house. Yeah, I could scream and yell. I could throw shit and she won't even know it. So, but good to see you all. Today being Monday, we've got fun things on the calendar. We've got our general session, of course. Hospitality Suite's always open. And we do have our book study group tonight. We're going to be covering 3 chapters out of Neville Goddard's The Law and the Promise. In fact, guests are invited. So if you got somebody who's into philosophy and studying books, you can invite them to jlsuccessmastermind.com/books, and they can get a guest membership there. So that'll be fun. And then what else? We've got, I think that's it for today, but I do want to acknowledge everyone who helped hold down the fort while I was traveling and moving and unpacking. And I feel like, I feel like I just want my routine. It's just, wow. I've had enough of, crawling under furniture and electrical, and I've installed 5 ceiling fans. I've installed 5 ceiling fans, 2 chandeliers. Yeah, I'm like a damn electrician over here. So I am going to hire a handyman though, because it's just, there's some things I'm not a contractor. I don't do woodwork. Right. So there's some doors and things that need updating. But besides that, we're good. We're finally in a spot where I think I can get some work done. That being said, I wanted to talk a little bit today and acknowledge everyone who's here, and including Wayne, who I just got to hear his voice just before we went live. Wayne, who I hadn't seen or heard from in a long time. He had a circumstance today that allowed him some free time because trucks are hitting electrical poles and whatever chaos is happening there. And the first idea that came out of my mind was, what an opportunity. You just got time back, right? How fortuitous. Now, not fortuitous for the pole or for the trucker. But I guess, that's why there's insurance companies. But I was just thinking of something that we've talked about before, which I think would be appropriate as we get into this week. And it's a word that I know my friend Missy likes, and that is pivoting. Pivot, right? I like to pivot. So I remember seeing this movie, which was, my goodness, what was it called? Heartbreak Ridge, I believe was the title of it, with Clint Eastwood, where he portrayed a U.S. Marine drill sergeant or something, right? And he was taking over this platoon of lackeys, right? These guys didn't, they were just kind of doing the least amount. Whoever the commanding officer was before didn't expect much from these guys. Again, it's a movie. I don't know that such platoons exist in the U.S. Marine Corps, but maybe Mark, if Mark was here, he could enlighten us. But the idea was that he was whipping these guys into shape. And one of the things that he talked about was you need to adapt and overcome, right? And at one point there was a drill, and he was the actor, Clint Eastwood, in this case, as the character he was portraying, was shooting live ammo in the direction of these guys to like wake them up or something. They were out in the field and they were doing a drill, and he was shooting an AK, as I recall. And he's like, "This is the AK-47. It makes a distinct sound when fired at you," right? And so, and these guys are all crapping their pants. I mean, who wouldn't be? Now, again, I don't know that actually happens in the Marine Corps. You don't point a weapon at a fellow soldier. But he was just shooting the ground and all this. Hollywood, right? You wouldn't actually do that. But the point is, these guys had to, in their drill, that disrupted their drill, right? Their drill was the obstacle course or whatever the drill was. but now they got gunfire too. You got to adapt and overcome. In other words, pivot. You got to pivot. So I've got plans, everybody. I've got plans, and this is how my life is going to go, and this is how this business is going to go, and here's all the stuff that I think is going to work this way or that way. And what's the old saying? Tell God your plans. If you want to laugh, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right? Or life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. Okay, so planning must also include the ability to pivot, the ability to let's say optimize. Napoleon Hill, in his classic book Think and Grow Rich, talked about organized planning. This was one of the entire chapter. In fact, it's the longest chapter in the book, organized planning. But in that chapter, he also talks about optimizing or pivoting, if you will. Like you're not 100% ready to execute your plan. In fact, in multiple chapters, he talked about begin at once, whether you feel like you're ready or not, right? Well, you've got the entire plan for whatever that's worth. Well, it's worth something, right? There's a whole chapter in the book about it. But how do you know all the gunfire, the trucks hitting electrical poles, the variables? Now, look, I like stability. I think a lot of people know that, okay? And I think to a degree, we all like stability. We like to have things that we can rely on in our lives. Okay. When I go to the coffee machine, I like to know where the coffee is, right? That's good. And that saves me time. That's stable. I like that. And that's where it shall be. And there it shall be. So it is written, so it is done. Okay. Hooray. But if everything in our life was a rock, if nothing ever moved, there was never any random stuff, spontaneity, problems to solve. My goodness, how boring. How friggin' boring, So on the other hand, right, we like stability, but we also like a bit of randomity. We also like to have some variety in life. For me, it comes down to a question of balance. Obviously, with the scenario I was just in for the last 2 weeks, moving, right? That is an imbalance in the direction of randomity, right? Too many particles moving in different places at different times, no predictability, no stability. On the other hand, and we talked about this before, and I'm not accusing anyone here, but you can take your own inventory, literally. There's people who hoard, right? And so just keep amassing stuff, and it's all just piling up and stuff. And I remember one person who they were so attached to like these rocks, like landscaping rocks. They actually moved the landscaping rocks when they moved to a different location. Big heavy rocks. It's like there's going to be rocks there too, probably indigenous, like here's the rocks for that environment, right? So like I didn't bring Arizona with me. I mean, I got I think I got some rocks somewhere from like Sedona, just like some red rocks, some sandstone, and some special stuff. And I could sit there and I guess burn incense and look at the rocks or whatever. But like, how much attachment do we have to have? There was a chapter in my uncle's book, What You Think Is What You Get, George Lavenia, a chapter called Possessed by Your Possessions. Possessed by Your Possessions. So possessions are good. It's good to have stuff and have it in its place and stability, but it's also good to be able to release stuff. So I'm looking at that balance now. I'm looking at, and for each of us, we can look for ourselves now that we're out of the first, week of 2022, and hopefully you've made some decisions and made some plans about what this year is going to look like for you in terms of production and the fruitage of you showing up for this 2022 Planet Earth thing that we're doing here. But also, do you have the ability to pivot? And maybe you just did, right? I just did. Okay, maybe you just pivoted. Maybe you just had, and some of you, I know you have, right? That you had these plans, and here's whatever methods that you were thinking about, and now here's a pivot. Okay, you adapt, you overcome. The point is that you do overcome. The whole point of pivoting or adapting is that you overcome. Now, that doesn't mean you get reasonable. George Bernard Shaw said, the reasonable man seeks to adapt himself to his environment, whereas the unreasonable man seeks to adapt the environment to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. So we're going to get unreasonable. Okay. But again, finding that balance, okay, between rigidity, I'm going to now adapt the environment to me, versus just going into agreement with whatever. And, like the reed bending in the wind or whatever, right? So somewhere there's a balance in there. And I think the metaphor, since Wayne's here, I'll use a metaphor. Wayne, as you all know, is the host of Metaphors for Success with Wayne Bradford. That's been dormant for a time, as his schedule hasn't allowed for it. But there's a whole archive of recordings. Wayne and I really like metaphors. And since I'm now in the sunshine state, which has less hours of sunshine than the state I just moved from, which is not the sunshine state. Okay. But since I'm in the sunshine state, which does experience these things called hurricanes, there is a balance in nature. Okay. So here comes heavy wind, right? And there are certain trees, let's say a palm, right? Different kinds of palm trees, right? And they survive these winds. They have enough bend to not break, and yet they have enough steadfastness to, I guess, not get uprooted or something. I'm not a botanist, okay, but the point is that every hurricane season doesn't level the entire, foliage. I mean, there's still trees that have been here for years, right? So something's working. There's something sustainable. And so I think in our own lives, for us to weather storms, to pivot, to adapt, to overcome, to sustain, there's got to be enough rigidity, but also enough flexibility. Where is that balance? I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me with this. I'm still learning, but I think I'm doing okay. Things are working really well, in fact. So I've got, I guess on this whole topic of pivoting, I've got to now look at, now that I've set up, to a degree, not done, okay, but now that I've set up shop, so to speak, I get the wonderful luxury of looking at my calendar fresh and saying yes or no to all these things. I've got right now, and this is nothing personal, everyone, I've got right now about 1,000 emails that have not been answered. I'm not going to get to them all. Right? If it's important, they'll email me again. All right. But I'm going to scan really fast, find stuff that I think could be important. And because, a lot of it's going to be, sales pitches and whatever, which I love. I love a good sales pitch. Okay. But I only have so many attention units to spend. Right. I just touched my hair and it's feeling kind of fluffy and gray. I need to cut and color my hair. So that's something I'm going to pivot on. The only thing that stays natural is my eyebrows. So I'm like full gray, except my eyebrows. I don't know what it is about the eyebrows that they're dark, but but that's something that could consume a bunch of time. The attending to everyone else's agendas, right? I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to catch up on all that. I'm going to hit reset on the vast majority of that. And if it's anything from you guys, again, nothing personal. I can't spend my whole day doing emails. That's just one example. Okay, so, and I know this is an idea that's come up for us a few times over the last couple of weeks, this whole idea of time and activity management. Glenn was talking about, and some of you have engaged in the use of that app that I mentioned, the A-Tracker app, right? So that is seeing where our time actually goes. So we're going to have to make some deliberate decisions about where it's not going to go, right? If there's a yes here, there's got to be a no there. If it's just yes, 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 we're out of balance, right? We don't have infinite number of attention that we can, put onto everything. And there will always be demands for that. So I'm thinking right now, and this is kind of a light topic. I'm thinking about pivoting, and each of us pivoting into, not just pivoting around, that which we don't want. Here's the gunfire, here's the problem, here's whatever we may not have expected. But it's way more inspirational, I have found, it's way more inspirational to go towards something than just away from something. In other words, back to that whole idea of the dichotomy or the polarity of, stability versus randomness. right? There's also that polarity of what we don't want versus what we do want. It's easy to fixate our attention on what we don't want. Doesn't take any intelligence at all to do that. It takes a bit more consciousness to then look at what we do want. Here's another metaphor. You've got the race car driver, the student race car driver. Some of you may know about this. There's something called skid plates. I'm not terribly familiar with it, but these are training devices where it would send the car sideways. So basically deliberately losing traction, like on a strong turn. And the training is designed to have the driver look at where they want to go. Don't look at the wall. You're headed towards the wall. Look where you want to go. Don't look at the wall. Does that make sense? Okay, because you get what you think about. I don't want the wall. I want the track, right? So look at the track. So in that case, and this is split second, right? It's like that fast. This stuff happens. We've got a bit more, let's say, a time luxury. You're not going to hit the wall in 2.8 seconds or whatever in life, let's say, but you've got the luxury of perhaps affording more time than necessary to the wall. So if you got to steer. If you got to pivot, but look where you're going. This is, I think, a brilliant metaphor for where everyone is at in their lives, right? Regardless of the method you're applying or the profession or whatever, the idea of having if you're going to fix your gaze on anything, fix it on where you want to go. In fact, the book that we're reading with Neville, he talks about again and again, imaging, right? And that everything that we can see, like here's this stuff, right? Whatever this stuff is, but it all originated as an idea. I mean, unless, we're just talking about God-given earth and trees and whatever, right? We're talking about computers and bookshelves and microphones and whatever. Okay, this was just an idea. So we imaged it first and then found ways to make it happen. We meaning mankind, we wouldn't have found ways to make it happen had we not continued to think on these things. So last example I'll throw out there, which you may find relatable, and it's one that I'm intimately involved with as I was just hanging lighting in the house, is the light bulb. So that was over 10,000 attempts to create a light bulb, which didn't work. What finally worked was he sucked the air out of it, created a vacuum, and then the filament didn't burn out anymore. In fact, I've got Edison style light bulbs, like for real, Edison style light bulbs in this house. That they're decorative now. They're nostalgic, right? They're kind of yellow and whatever. I put it out front, so it's not blinding when you drive by. I like soft light out front, right? I like daylight where it's needed, filming and whatever. But I got to look at those bulbs. I was like, wow, look at that. Look at that creation. This took thousands and thousands of attempts to do this, right? And now we have this product, right? Turns out that those Edison light bulbs, like the real incandescent ones, were just too yellow for inside the house. I wound up putting them outside and wound up getting the LED versions and a dimmer. And so now we can have the look of an Edison style light bulb, and it's got these long LED looking filaments. It looks like an Edison light bulb, but it's actually 2700 Kelvin instead of like 1600 or whatever. I mean, those bulbs are really yellow. So yeah, we like the end product. We like the end product, but there's ways again to pivot. Oh, you know what? Now modern times, we've got the LED version, which I'll never have to change. They got like a 10 million year shelf life or something. So in closing, I would ask you to put your attention on, what pivots you can make in life, which could be something as simple as, I keep saying I'm going to exercise at night and I never do. I'm going to exercise in the morning now. That's a pivot. I'm just throwing this out there, right? These are just ideas. Or you know what? I'm on this food considerations right now because we just loaded our kitchen. We got all this junk food, snacks and stuff here. What if we put that over there and put the healthy stuff over there, since we tend to go over there? Oh, okay. Right. Why don't we just stop buying all the crap? How about that? That would be a pivot. right? Based on an intent, right? Here's my intention to eat healthy. Tell you what, driving cross country and moving in it, it's easy to eat crap. It's easy. I wonder how these guys, Adrian, I wonder how these guys in the music business do it, right? Eating crap all the time, right? Or truckers, right? It's truck stop food like all day, every day. So, yeah, that takes its toll. Did you guys ever see the documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead? Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. It was a movie about this guy, Joe, who transformed his health. He was obese and everything, medical conditions, transformed his health with juicing, vegetable juicing. Okay, so he got the juicer and he put the greens and everything, right? And he just went on a juice diet for like months. And bam, like, holy crap, right? And then he became an advocate and sort of a, whatever. And he showed up during the documentary. At one point, he was at a truck stop, and here's this trucker who morbidly obese, like the guy was a friggin' planet. He was a planet, right? And so he kind of proselytized to this guy, hey, here's a juicer, right? Anyway, he enrolled the guy in the idea of juicing. And then at the end of the movie, it's actually a good documentary to check it out. Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Yes. But at the end of the movie, the trucker, which was just one of the subjects, in addition to the original guy, Joe, right? Now it's like a whole movement or whatever. But the trucker was fit. And it showed, here he is a couple years later, jogging in the winter, snow, right? Jogging. And he still drives his truck or whatever, but he juices and he has exercise. And I mean, the guy had to lose 300 pounds. Like the guy was huge. Yeah. So I don't know. There's a pivot. Right? Hot dogs and truck stop burritos and stuff, which I was actually eating, to juicing. I guess if you got a big rig, right, you probably got electricity in there. You can plug in a juicer and do the thing, right? Okay, great. I'm done talking to you guys. I love you. I'm glad to be here. Oh, wait, I see some chat action here. Virginia. Oh, hey, Virginia. Motorcycle riding class. I took many, many, many years. You're not that old. Come on. Taught us not to look at the road just in front, but rather down the road or where you wanted to go, right? So you look through the turn. So yeah, see what's right in front of you, but also see 12 seconds in front of you. So there's the 2-second rule, the 1-second rule, the 12-second rule. So motorcyclists, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Adrian, save me, Adrian.
Hey, John, I'm just going to answer your question there about the music guys.
Mm-hmm.
They take your George Bernard Shaw approach that you referred to. They require the environment to adapt to them. The problem they have is exactly the problem you described. They go around the world. I remember one person getting to us after 89 days in a coach on the road straight. 89 days. They lived in 3 coaches. They literally pack up after the show, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, have a shower, jump in the coach, and they're off to, say, Madrid or Berlin or wherever they're going. And they live on those coaches, and they get to the venue, and the only chance they have of eating well is insisting the environment adapts to them. So they require a very, very detailed contract annex where they say, this is exactly what you're going to present us with in our dressing. We want exactly this. To the extent that they want that brand, that type of food, and some of them bring their own chef. So they've learned the hard way that they can turn up in places and have the most terrible things served to them. So that's what they do. So it's the George Bernard Shaw approach of the environment adapting to them.
Right.
Which, as you say, you've got to be the unreasonable person sometimes, haven't you? Otherwise, you just accept the obstacles and say, yes, I'll let them do whatever they like. I'll just adapt, and then you're 100 miles off course, or you've eaten badly. Same with our mindset. We can I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. We can get shoved off. Yeah, we can get shoved off miles away from where we want to be if we don't take your George Bernard Shaw approach, that's for sure.
Sure.
Anyway, that's what they do.
Adrian, you just reminded me of the movie, This is Spinal Tap, right? Where Nigel's got the little bread and the big bologna. And it's like, how do you make a sandwich with this?
Yeah.
Anyway.
That is brilliant. That's the classic story. And it actually did happen. I can't remember which way around it happened. I think it was Black Sabbath who went on a tour and they marked the measurements in feet and inches for the European stage production people, and they worked in metric. So they made the stage the centimeter meter size rather than the feet and inches size, and the stuff was way too big, and they couldn't get it onto the stage. So yeah, another classic example of moving around the world. Yeah.
Good times. All right. Thank you, Adrian. Any other pivoting going on around here, Linda?
Hey, John. Hey, everyone. Well, yeah, the pivoting, I like what you said, instead of thinking about what we don't want, just think about what we do want, which I think most of us tend to do the opposite, always thinking about what we don't want. And that's why we have bad results. And so, yeah, I mean, reading Napoleon Hill, Neville Goddard's, these 3 chapters really opened my eyes to that. And then you talked about, the chapter on organized planning in Napoleon Hill's book, which I've been studying this month too. And this morning I just got through studying, what was it, the 30 major causes of failure.
Damn, so, what a great section. Oh,
it's very, very good. I recommend everybody go back to their Napoleon Hill book and just read that and really think about it. And if you have somebody that can do it with you and give you their opinion, that would be even better. And then also the 10 major causes of failure in leadership. In reviewing that, I was able to really pinpoint where what I need to work on, which is really organizing. That's my big thing that I need to pivot on this year. Okay. So yeah.
Well, you look great where you are right now. You got a beautiful aesthetic backdrop. It looks very nice. I don't know if the rest of the room is a disaster, but you look great.
Well, I'm not saying. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Linda. So good to that you related to that. I'm glad you did. Let's go to the wonderful and illustrious Missy.
Hello, everybody. Nice meeting you, Wayne. John, it sounds like Clint Eastwood stole that from the Dirty Dozen. Okay. What's his name? Shoots the rope. The guy wouldn't climb the rope, and he says, "Okay, you want to climb the rope? Okay." And he machine gunned him up, and he got him to the top. Watch the Dirty Dozen. I've been having surprise pivots lately. Many with this group, with Virginia, with Lindsay, with Linda this morning. And then I was, fortunately, Linda called and we had a great convo. And I was waiting for 50 minutes for some lab to come draw blood. They come to your house. And I was mad because they were 15 minutes late. So then I couldn't call into this shop talk thing. But I called in when the lady finally left. And I got in at just the right moment to ask the last question. And I was given this wonderful idea that makes me very excited about what I'm going to do with some customers. And just this whole group has been a giant pivot for Bob's and my entire life. And meeting all of you, I've been hearing Adrian talk on his sessions, and it's just, the surprise pivots are what are really surprising me. I thought it was bad that I couldn't call into the front of the show, so I did miss some, but it turned out to be, maybe I wouldn't have thought of saying that had I joined earlier, whatever I said. But so I guess I adapted to this lady being late because it usually makes me mad, but I just went with the flow. That's what you did to me. You turned me into a go with the flow person, or I'm on the way to becoming that. Linda, what did you say? You have duck feathers or something like that? What did you say to me today?
Yes, I said I have duck feathers. I don't get mad or angry, or I just let things go. They just roll off my back like water off a duck.
So I guess I'm the new duck on the block for at least 5 minutes. So.
Quack, quack, baby. There was a there was a seminar I was in where they had an exercise where it was where you write down all of your stories about all the problems you've had in your life and how what was you and all this stuff, right? And then you read it to a partner, and then they read it to you. And in the background, they had music playing, and it was Old MacDonald Had a Farm. So while you're telling of all your troubles, they kept playing Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and they kept playing it louder and louder and louder. And then eventually the whole room was just laughing. Wayne, what's up, brother?
Hey, John. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, good to be here. It's been a really long time. So yeah, it was a good little pivot this morning, actually. Things didn't go quite as planned, and we got shut down. So here I am, which is kind of pretty exciting, but it would not be me without sharing an aviation metaphor, would it? So my thought when you were talking about pivoting was when I was in the airline business before COVID and I was involved in the operations side of things, and airplanes coming and going and sort of trying to make plans when things didn't go as planned, how to fix it. We spent a lot of time pivoting, but one of our operational duty managers used to say that a good plan A always has a solid plan B, C, and D behind it. And the other part that goes with that is, when an aircraft is airborne and something happens, whether it's a medical emergency or a weather issue or a maintenance issue or whatever it might be, there's decision points, and you get to a point where an option is no longer a viable option and you need to go to the next available option. So in that sense, pivoting in the air, when you don't have enough fuel to return to your departure station, you need to find either an alternate or a station that's further downline.
Was that like a pace plan?
Your destination. Yeah, you're basically keeping track of everything. Keeping track of where you're at.
The acronym PACE. You're familiar with
PACE.
that?
Oh, yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah, in a sense, I suppose it would be. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, that made me think of it. And then the other thing when you were talking about pivot, it was interesting to me, is that a pivot's not a slow curve. If you're walking and you pivot, it's pretty much an immediate change of direction. And so there's things in life that sometimes we come across where, as you were saying, you make a plan, but it doesn't go that way. Life happens while you're making plans. When things come up where it's sort of an almost immediate change, and sometimes that can be unsettling. But I just learned when I was young, I was an air cadet here in Canada, and when we march, there used to be a maneuver which actually involved a pivot, and a big part of that was balance. And you mentioned balance this morning as well. So, and that can be something that you work on and plan and just continue to work on your life's balance as you go along. And so that when things do come up and you do need to pivot, if it's an immediate sort of situation, with some balance in your life, it makes that a lot more stable, I think. So anyway, really glad I was able to dial in this morning. It was really great to hear the session. It was really good for me. And just to focus on this whole idea of pivoting and being able and ready to pivot in my life. So appreciate it, John, and everybody. Good to be here with you.
Good to hear you, brother. So glad you're here. And we've had a few of the core, originals showing up lately. So Wayne Bradford, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Here's another core original who always shows up, and that's Janet. Hey, Janet, what's going on with you, the master calligrapher?
Well, yes, pivot is not a slow curve, but the other thing to know, because I loved basketball when I was in junior high school, I would, and I was playing, I loved playing it, but girls basketball was, different, half a court only, but never mind, pivoting was one of the things you did. And it's how you get yourself out of trouble. Someone's coming up on you, you change direction, you go another way. You're making course corrections all of the time, whether you're sailing or you're basketballing or whatever you're doing. You learn that if you can't keep going where you're going, change directions. And you might do just a little bit of course correction, or you might do a lot. The thing with pivot, one foot is solidly on the ground, because otherwise you get caught for traveling, and the other foot helps you get around to where you need to go. So you have the stability factor, that one foot is still on the ground, and then you have the other of course correction, and go there. So you're kind of always going toward your goal, but you might be going in other little ways and places in order to get there well, because an obstacle comes up, you're not going to go right into it. You're going to say, okay, hi obstacle, bye. I'm going to go another way. I'm going to adjust. And like I said, maybe it's just a tiny adjustment. Maybe it's not like the whole world has to turn upside down. It's just something to let you keep going in that direction so that you can get to where you're going. So it's a good thing to think about. It's a good thing that I think within a plan, with this is how I'm going to get there, something comes in, some obstacle, some new idea, maybe it's something like, this is even better. Okay, I'm going to go toward that even better thing, but still going in the forward direction, but a little bit sideways so that I can accommodate that which is making sense to me now. So something makes sense. So it's a flexible forward plan in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you, Missy.
Do you still do competitive basketball?
No, but I still love it. And even when I'm in a country like Indonesia and find out there's a basketball game, I go because I just love it. I don't know why.
Wow. Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank
By
you.
the way, I wanted to mention happy birthday to not only my wife Shannon, but apparently, and I've been offline for the most part, Ingrid Matheson, happy birthday a couple days ago, as well as Coral Taylor, who I haven't seen here in a while. Happy birthday to Coral, and Adrian Jackson, who I haven't seen in a while. Adrian Jackson, that's always a fun guy. So good times, everybody. Any other thoughts before we wrap up for today on pivoting, adapting, overcoming? We're good. All right. So then we're going to get together here tomorrow with Adrian. But between now and then, we got 3 more chapters of the Law and the Promise with Neville Goddard. So that'll be tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I am getting on Eastern time. Here, I'm getting on Eastern time. Thank goodness my calendar knows what time zone I'm in. So anyway, love you guys. Make it a great day. If I can do anything for anybody, please let me know. Don't email me. Okay.